Kara. We turn now to the gospel lesson from John, chapter 18, verses 33 through 38. This is the trial of Jesus. Jesus has been brought before Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor, by the Sanhedrin, and this is part of the exchange between the two of them. Then Pilate entered the headquarters again, summoned Jesus, and asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus answered, "Do you ask this of your own, or did others tell you about me?" Pilate replied, "I am not a Jew, am I? Your own nation and chief priests have handed you over to me. What have you done?" Jesus answered, "My kingdom is not from this world. If my kingdom were from this world, my followers would be fighting to keep me from being handed over to the Jews. But as it is, my kingdom is not from here." Pilate asked him, "So you are a king?" Jesus answered, "You say that I am a king. For this I was born, and for this I came into the world, to testify to the truth. Everyone who belongs to the truth listens to my voice." Pilate asked him, "What is truth?" Dear God, we ask for your blessings on the reading of your word. Help us to understand it and how it might apply to our lives. Bless us now in an understanding way. Amen. Scene is tense in the governor's palace in Jerusalem. It is Passover, and the Romans are hypersensitive to the possibility that the Jewish crowds will start a revolt. That is why the governor, Pontius Pilate, is in Jerusalem. He is there to make sure everything goes smoothly and without incident. There will be no revolt on his watch. Into this potential hotbed of dissent, the Jewish authorities, including the high priest himself, has sent a man to Pilate for judgment. This is out of the ordinary. Pilate talks to the members of the Sanhedrin who brought this man, asking what he has done. They reply that he has blasphemed against God and has taught contrary to their laws. Pilate's unimpressed and says, "So that's your problem, not mine." Jewish authorities quickly come up with some other charges they hope the governor will be impressed by. They say he's stirring up the people, causing trouble, and he claims to be the king of the Jews. Well, that gets Pilate's attention. Someone claiming to be a king in the Roman Empire is treason against the emperor and punishable by death. Now we pick up the rest of the story with the gospel lesson for today. Pilate enters the headquarters and summons this accused man and asks him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Pilate is expecting a simple declaration from this man, a simple yes, and Pilate knows he's a lunatic, and Pilate will sentence him to death just to shut him up. Or a simple no, and Pilate knows that this is a terrified man pleading for his life. Pilate sees this all the time, and the governor will probably sentence him to death to shut him up and the people accusing him. Their lives do not really matter much to Pilate, just as long as he is able to keep the peace. But this accused man does not answer in any typical way. He says, "Do you ask this on your own, or did someone else tell you about me?" Pilate's never heard a response like this. A moment of curiosity is replaced with a feeling of annoyance, and Pilate gets back into the business and retorting, "I'm not a Jew, am I? Your own people and chief priests have handed you over to me. So what have you done to make them want you dead?" Man replies, "My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, my followers would be fighting to keep me from being handed over to the Jewish authorities. But as it is, my kingdom is not from here." All Pilate hears is "my kingdom," and snaps back, "So you are a king." Pilate thinks that he has finally got the political reality he can deal with. If the man says he's a king, well, simple, he dies. But the man confuses Pilate again by saying, "You say that I am a king. For this I was born, and for this I came into the world, to testify to the truth. Everyone who belongs to the truth listens to my voice." And then Pilate, the world-weary politician who has experienced truth as nothing more than a political tool to advance oneself over others, says, "What is truth? What is truth?" Was it a sincere question of a man who, at least for a moment, wanted to understand a greater reality than the one he was living? Or was it a rhetorical question muttered under his breath, expressing just the politician's disillusionment and disappointment in the world? The Bible does not make it clear, and the accused man does not answer. Maybe the man does not answer because he knows that Pilate is not listening, nor would he accept it if he heard it. The man being interviewed by Pilate, of course, is Jesus. In the other Gospels, we sense a growing frustration in Pilate at Jesus for not giving him direct answers to his questions. In one of the movies made about this encounter between Jesus and Pilate, Pilate is frustrated to the point of getting in Jesus' face and shouting at him, "Don't you know I have the power to release you or to crucify you?" With all the political and military power at Pilate's command, he cannot make a simple peasant man answer his questions the way that he wants him to. Jesus expresses a power which Pilate does not understand. Jesus has a spiritual strength, a moral strength, strength of character. Pilate, though, is the epitome of world power. He commands armies. He makes decisions which become laws. He orders people to do this, to do that, and to go there and do it because they fear being punished if they don't. This encounter between Pilate and Jesus is a dramatic contrast of powers. Pilate represents the world and its power, which is expressed primarily in fear. Jesus represents spiritual power, which expresses itself primarily in love. Pilate was motivated by fear himself. He was afraid of the crowds rioting and the emperor executing him. So Pilate ruled by fear, threatening people with his power to hurt them or to kill them. That was Pilate, the politician. On the other hand, Jesus was motivated by love. He was there to save people. He was sacrificing himself to save others. He did not threaten anyone with his power. The high priest and the Sanhedrin, however, felt threatened by him because his message of love was winning people's hearts more than the rule of fear that they were using. The high priest and the Sanhedrin feared losing their authority, their social position, their wealth, and their control over the people. Their fear moved them to seek the life of an innocent man to protect their authority, their social status, and wealth. The high priest and members of the Sanhedrin lived lives of privilege. They enjoyed many luxuries which the common people could never afford and sometimes never even imagine. The Sanhedrin was made up of mostly Sadducees and some Pharisees. These were the top 1% of Jewish society. They had enjoyed privileges for a long time. And when someone enjoys privileges for a long time, well, the privileged people come to believe that their privileges are their rights. No one wants to do with less, so they justify having things better than others by believing that they are better than others. Both the Sadducees and the Pharisees believed that they had better of everything because they were simply better people than the masses, and God was rewarding them for their righteousness. This is typical human nature. Psychological studies have borne it out that when people have more than others, they are more likely to justify why they have it better than others. They usually believe that they work harder than others, and they're more motivated, they're more determined than the masses. Secondly, the privileged believe that they are smarter than others. After that come a variety of other rationales, including moral superiority and the reward of God for their goodness. Well, let's take a look at a privileged section of the population. Oh, you say. Oh, not whites over blacks. Not heterosexuals over homosexuals. Oh, no, come on, not the rich over the poor. Not these, no. I want to start with a show of hands. Who is right-handed? All right, who's left-handed? All right. Estimates are that right-handed people make up at least 80% of the world population, and some estimates say that it's like 95%. And I don't think that I am shocking anyone to say that our world is designed for right-handed people. Many of our common items are built for the ease of right-handed people. Most doors open for right-handed people rather than left-handed people. Refrigerator doors, take an example, are mostly for right-handed people. Scissors are made for right-handed people. School desks are for right-handed people. You know, the way we read and write in English and most other languages is from left to right. Left-handed people are always, hunched over their desks, writing, and they're smudging their papers. Computer keyboards are right-handed dominant. You got some others? Instruments. From the left-handed person. Yeah, she knows. What about it? Anyone else? Something else? See, most of us right-handed people aren't even aware. We don't even think about it. Until we get a left-handed scissor, and then we can't do anything with it. Some of you probably remember, either for yourself or for someone you knew, that people who exhibited left-handedness in grade school were urged to varying degrees to change to right-handedness. Some left-handers had their hands actually tied behind their backs to force them to use their right hand. There has been a cultural stigma around being left-handed. Left-handed people were seen as clumsy, unlucky, or awkward, or at the very least, or they could be just evil at worst. For most European languages, the word right also means correct and proper, while left means clumsy and sinister. People engaged in black magic were said to be on the left-hand path. In the Bible, the right-hand seat is always considered the best seat. The tribe or an individual named Benjamin means son of the right hand. It seems evident that nature and the Bible considered right-handedness to be the proper expression. If over 90% of the people in the world are right-handed, then those who are left-handed must be unnatural. Many left-handed people are just stubborn, and they refuse to change to the natural order of things. I know many left-handed people say that it's just a part of their nature to be left-handed, but how can that be true when 90% of the people are right-handed? Left-handed people say that they were born left-handed. Don't you think that the evidence shows that being left-handed is a choice? And now I hear there are attempts to make the world left-handed. People and institutions are catering to this left-handed movement. There are left-handed desks. There are baseball gloves for left-handers. There are left-handed tools. What's next? Left-handed cars? This is all a plot by left-handed people to make right-handed people look awkward and clumsy. Oh, I know. It starts out with left-handed desks and scissors, yeah. But the end goal is to wipe out the right-handed race. Well, I for one say, you left-handed people will not replace us. You will not replace us. Yes, I wake up every morning and I say, I'm glad I am a right-handed person in a right-handed world. So actually, no, I don't. I don't even think about it. Most of the time, I am just oblivious to the privilege of being right-handed and the problems of being left-handed. Our world has right-handed privilege. Right-handed people dominate every society. And most often, we never think about it. Left-handed people do have to think about it every day in order to get along and to work in a world which is prejudiced against left-handed people. This scenario can also be applied to other situations where there is a dominant group of people who have great privilege over the minorities but never think about it. And since they don't think about it, they do nothing to correct the injustice or the unfairness of the situation. Can you think of any situations where that might apply? Do we have prejudices and privileges which are unfair to others? Governor Pontius Pilate did the expedient thing with Jesus. The Jewish authorities wanted to keep their power and their privilege, and they felt that the death of a man was worth that price of keeping it. Pilate went along with them because that maintained his power and privilege. But Jesus had a power not of this world, of prejudice and of privilege. Jesus is the king of a kingdom where justice and fairness are practiced all the time. Jesus asks us to reach for a higher calling than earthly power, comfort, and pleasure. What is the truth for Jesus? The love of God for all God's children. We oftentimes forget that God is the Alpha and the Omega, the first and last letters of the Greek alphabet. Therefore, the first and the last. God is the beginning of all things and the end of all things. That is the kingdom to which we all belong. That is the truth. Amen.